Welcome back to the Real Couchwives, the podcast where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
As the scandal continues to unfold, we can't help but wonder, is this the end of Tom Sandoval on Vanderpump Rules?
Could he be fired? And if so, what would VPR even look like without him? So, Carrie, there have just been more and more details spilling out about Tom Sandoval and just kind of like all the damage that this is doing to his reputation.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's just getting worse and worse for him. So far we know that Tom has been cheating on Ariana with Raquel for months, and they seem to be continuing to have a relationship in real time, which is really isolating him from the rest of the group. So, if he's feuding with everyone minus Raquel, you can't help but wonder, is there even a place for him in next season and beyond?
hmm Well, and that's just it too, right? Like they spent so much time and energy and like so many seasons getting Tom and Tom to kind of like feel like the future of Vanderpump Rules, right? Like they were the next generation of restaurateurs in this sense, right? Like they were the ones that were going to keep this thing going. And I think at one point there was even like rumors of the fact that like maybe Tom Tom would be like this next spin-off show, right? Like that obviously didn't
Oh,
happen,
and they would be the
but
Lisa, like Tom and
and
Tom would be the new Lisa.
exactly. They would be the new Lisa and Ken, and they'd be like able to like, talk about all the hijinks that their like employees got up to. Yeah, so I just don't know what that means for like, Tom Schwartz, what like their relationship is like right now, and like what that also just means for like the future of the show in general, because like how do you not have it be about these two people that are still like very key figures in the Vanderpump Rules world, right?
Yeah. No, it's such a good point. Like they've clearly been making such concerted efforts to really make them the kind of like face of the show. Like they're now the face of two different restaurants. The restaurants literally have their names. Like it's
Yeah.
Tom Tom and Schwartz and Sandy's. Like, do they just remove one of the Toms? Like it's
Tom, Tom
just
Bar,
Tom and then just Schwartz.
just Schwartz. The
I don't
name that
think
Schwartz,
Tom could handle that, Tom Schwartz.
yeah,
I think that would actually kill him.
yeah. Well, and Schwartz didn't even want the name Schwartz and Sandy's, so like, how does that even work now that it's just gonna be his name?
Yeah, I mean, like it just makes me think too, it's not that easy to just cut someone out of a show. Like I have actually noticed that they won't even see Stassi's name. She's like a he who will not be named type of Harry
Yeah.
Potter situation.
She
um
would she would love that like comparison, by the way. I'm sure she's all about being compared to Lord Voldemort.
yeah, just did it for you, Stassi.
Just
But yeah, like when Katie, I think, was talking about her and Beau's wedding, and she's like, "Oh, I went to a friend's wedding in Italy." It's like we all
yeah.
know that was Stassi. Like, could
Yeah.
we literally not even say her name? Like, you can't just cut Tom out in that way. Nor do I think they would want to.
hmm
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I wonder if they're either like really excited or kind of regretting like hanging their hat on these two guys,
Yeah.
at least not knowing that this was coming. Like if I was Lisa and I didn't know like that this was happening,
Yeah.
like you have to think that she'd be concerned because like one of the restaurants, Tom Tom, like the
Mhm.
way that they basically used it as a hook. Like Tom and Tom is the
Yeah.
face of it, and that's
Yeah.
like the draw. And
Mhm.
if they are no longer beloved, like does that make the restaurant suffer?
hmm Well, and even with kind of like the way that they revamped season 10 too, right? Like they did kind of like this whole like we're bringing sexy back, like promotion. They redid the entire intro to be like actually like Schwartz and Sandy's, Tom Tom, and then Sir. Like Sir's actually like kind of a bit of an afterthought, and the only people that are there anymore are like James because he's DJing, and Raquel and like Charlie who like work there. So like our ties to Sir are like now fewer and far between. Um, so like Tom and like Schwartz and Sandy's like that's what everything is still relying upon. And like if Tom Schwartz is gonna be Tom's maybe like only ally next season, like what does that really look like for like the group dynamic, right? Of like an ensemble cast.
Yeah, that's not really fun to watch. And you do
hmm
have to wonder too, like they keep having their highest rated like episode each week with like since the Scandovals come out, like there's like record high viewing after like a couple year slump. So I think right now they're going to milk it for all it's worth, but I don't know what it looks like next season if like no one wants to film with him. Like, is there a way that he could actually be fired?
Yeah.
I don't like, now that they've really made the show kind of like so heavily based on the two Toms.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see that happening as much as I think the cast is like not happy with him.
Yeah.
I think the only way he actually would leave is if he left on his own because he doesn't like the way he's being portrayed.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think to your point too, like the way that the ratings have skyrocketed from this Scandoval, like Tom Sandoval is at the center of this thing, right? Like of this controversy. And like while we hate him and we like think that he's like an awful person, we think that he's like, honestly, he's like a textbook narcissist, right? Like this guy just loves like the attention of the TV show. And like, you know, maybe as a narcissist, like you don't love the bad attention, but you still love overall all of the attention, right? Like,
yeah. No, that's a really good point. I don't know where they go from here. I do think that the cast is seeing, you know, how this is skyrocketing them as well. So, you know, if it's going to bring in money for them, they could probably put their anger aside and still continue to film with him.
Yeah. Well, that's just it, right? Like I think Sheena talked about in one of her more recent podcasts how she has like she confirmed that she's filmed the scene with him already, right? Like in this post Scandoval world. And obviously they like filmed with the reunion with him too. So like none of them are fully like, oh, you know, I couldn't possibly like film with this person ever again. Maybe Ariana might be feeling that way. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Like I think for Ariana as well, like you know, she just released a whole bunch of merch. Like she's got to get paid, so maybe she is willing to like envision a world in which we can go forward with like the new season of Vanderpump Rules in this like new weird world order.
I know. Also, that you mentioned it, I love the way that Ariana is just like using this to propel herself forward, and she's like her new merch, like I was born cool. There's a swear word in there, but I won't say here. But I love that for her, and I actually love so much what this is doing, and like the rallying cry of like just like female empowerment coming through. I love that for her. It's amazing.
It is awesome. So a weird little tidbit, but I was also listening to Lala Kent's podcast, and Lala dropped some very interesting information about her most recent merch line, which is her like send it to Daryl like sweaters. Apparently, because she just bought a house in Palm Springs. Apparently, the 20% that she had to put down for her house, the merch for send it to Daryl already made it back for her. It's just like,
oh my God, she made that much off of that sweater?
How many sweaters do you have to sell to be able to do that? Like that's even like I don't know what a house in Palm Springs costs, I have to admit. But that just seems like that's a lot of sweaters.
That's a lot of sweaters. Well, that's just it. Like if they're seeing this type of return on talking about this, if anything, what might happen is they just continue to talk about this forever. And it becomes everyone's storyline when really it's Ariana's storyline. And like, I want to hear from her. Like, I also heard at the reunion that like Lala and James just go after Raquel and Tom for like 2 hours, which, you know, is warranted, but less so from them, you know, like Lala, like, I feel like she just feels so empowered. Like she just feels so like vindicated because she never liked Raquel. And now she's like, see, but it's like, you didn't know this was happening. Like you just don't like her. Like
she is making the rounds really claiming that she knew that this was happening. She's like, and obviously like I'm excited to see how it plays out on the rest of the season, because like if these allegations are going to come up in like that kind of like original like 10 episode like arc that they had originally scheduled, like great, I'm here for it. But she's now like going on this podcast claiming that she's like known since like November at least, and it's just like, really, you knew since November and like you didn't tell Ariana. Like, come on.
I saw
Like,
that, and she even said like, "Oh, I didn't tell her because like we weren't close then." It's like that
what?
just makes her anger about this so much more disingenuous. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that you're so outraged for Ariana. Like, it's
Yeah.
because you feel that this vindicates you being really mean for lots of seasons.
Yeah. No, so I don't know how I feel about like Lala's level of kind of like her hindsight is 2020 to bring it back to Tom Sandoval.
Hindsight's 2020, man.
Hindsight's right. Don't you know the word hindsight? Do you know the definition of the word hindsight? Would you like me to explain it to you? Oh, Tom.
Yeah, that was what he said, I
To
guess, to the
the
fake paparazzi
paparazzi.
that they've all been
Yeah.
calling on themselves
Yeah.
during this whole thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens next. I'm also curious to see the fate of Schwartz and Sandy's,
Yeah.
because it also is one that was so heavily reliant on the like cachet and like
Hmm.
kind of popularity of the Toms. That's why you go there. And I think
Yeah.
watching this most recent season play out too shows you even more like, I know that Tom Sandoval right now is saying like, oh, please disassociate. Like, I did this. Like, don't take it
Mm.
out on the restaurant.
Right.
And I definitely don't think that the people who work at the restaurants should have to suffer. Like, that's totally unfair. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like you did make this restaurant really on the foundation of your popularity.
Yeah.
It's named after you.
Yeah.
And to now be like, you can't like associate the two. Like, it's very clear watching the season, they don't know anything about the restaurant industry. Like, we've said it in past episodes too, like it's actually kind of wild that they've ended up where they were because Lisa took risks on them.
Mhm.
They're not in the restaurant business because they're amazing like restaurateurs. Is that a word? I don't know.
I think so. I think so. No, you're right. They're not in this business because they are like, well, maybe this is their new passion, but like this isn't something that they've been like chasing and pursuing, right? Like they like Tom was a mod, well, I guess they were both models. And like also Tom Sandoval like has like his music. He's had it since like the beginning, like early seasons of Vanderpump Rules. So like they've always had like their other passions. And this I think is like an easy venture for them to kind of like break into and like go off on their own, and they think that they can like do that, which again like bringing it back to narcissism is this like belief that like you can just go off and like do something and like totally like without any disregard for like you know the consequences or the risks or whatever it is, just believing like in your own abilities, so like having like these like illusions of grandeur, right, that you're like so incredible and I know how this business works and I've worked in bars like for this many years, so I can go off and make it myself now, and like I opened this Tom Tom with Lisa Vanderpump, and so like now obviously I can go, I know more than like Lisa believes in me and I can go and do this on my own and whatever. Like it's just like throughout the whole process of them opening those bars, I think we were seeing the signs of like Tom Sandoval being a narcissist, thinking that he like knew everything and like not understanding that like he actually knew very little about this, and now we're dealing with those consequences.
100%. I mean, like, I definitely think Tom Sandoval is a textbook narcissist.
Yeah.
So much so that we went up and looked up what are some characteristics of a
Yeah.
narcissist, and you pretty much just mentioned all of them, like illusion of grandeur, like need for attention and admiration, lack of empathy, and
Mhm.
especially unhappy when not given the special admiration that they deserve,
Yeah, I
which
think
we
that
can
one
see.
in particular is like so interesting because this like need for like external validation and like admiration, like and like deserving admiration, like I feel like that is just like what we're seeing unfold with like the breakup between like Tom Sandoval and Ariana, and like him kind of being like, we weren't in a good place. Like this relationship hasn't worked for months, like for years, like all of these kind of like justifications for himself of like why they like weren't in a good place and it was reasonable for him to be cheating on her. Like actually just feel like, okay, well she actually just wasn't giving you like feeding your ego and like giving you that kind of like a special attention, and maybe that's why you like went off and you found like your number one fangirl who was Raquel, who like came to, and in Ariana's defense, like if you go back and like look at videos of her like watching Tom Sandoval, I don't know why I keep on wanting to call him Tam, Tom Sandoval, like perform stuff. Like Ariana, like really is like looking at him, being like, wow, like he's so amazing. But like now he has like the shiny new thing in Raquel that's also like looking at him, being like, wow, you're so amazing. And she goes to all of his concerts, even the ones that Ariana doesn't go to. Like it's that cycle that he
Yeah.
like gets into and like
That's it. And we've even mentioned in our past episodes too, like Ariana this season felt like she was playing like his sidekick. Like she was just kind of there being like she was like, yeah, you look great. And he's like, don't I look good in these sparkly pants?
yeah.
And like that's just it. Like she was such a ride or die girlfriend. My
Hmm.
favorite is like those memes that come up where it's like she was with him during like all his phases of like hair when he had like the white streak and it was like long and
uh
and like she like through this like clear midlife crisis that he's going to and she's going to all
yeah.
of his shows, like you would
Hmm.
not find a more ride or die girlfriend
Yeah.
than Ariana. She was always so there for him and he was
Hmm.
never there for her.
No.
And I think like we start seeing this season too, she starts to push back a little bit, I guess, with
Hmm.
when they're at the pool party and he's kind of like laying into Katie as he's been doing for years and years and years. And Ariana she literally walks away and she's like, I'm not taking part in like the Tom against the girls show. And then when
Hmm.
she gets mad at James too for doing the same thing, and she's like, I don't like it when Tom does it, and I don't like it when you do. And I
Yeah.
think he's like rattled by her
The
taking that
comparison.
stance.
Interesting.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, watching the show is so crazy now. Like I feel like we're all just like looking for Easter eggs and we're all
Yeah.
like investigators.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, and you're right. I like she has been such a ride or die girlfriend. Like she's always fought his battles with him. And like I think part of the reason why like I didn't really like her at the beginning was because she did that, right? Like she always co-signed his bad behavior. She always co-signed like anytime that he was like going up against Katie or Stassi. Um and just even like the way that he like always like treated like Kristen, like he's always just been yeah, why are you always fighting girls? Like why is that a normal thing that you're always doing? Like
Because
that
they
just feels
like, oh sorry.
no, no, go for
I was
it.
like, we're ending each other's sentences. Because I feel like they don't buy into his idea of grandeur
Mm,
of what he sees
yeah,
himself as. And when they don't, he pushes back or, you know, he gaslights them. Like he has
yeah,
been gaslighting women on the show for years. And I
yeah.
think not that I was blind to it, but it wasn't as like I didn't see it as clearly as I see it now because in a lot of the
Mhm.
times, the people he was going up against, they weren't angels either. Like it's a
Yeah.
situation where like no one was ever really in the right.
Hmm.
Everyone's always a little bit, you know, of a villain.
Yeah,
And you know, like when he's up against Kristen, like Kristen is
yeah.
going like far beyond, like above and beyond to break up his relationship with Ariana and flying
Hmm.
Miami girl. And you know,
Yeah,
Ariana, we want to protect Ariana, and he's doing that. So like we'll give you a pass this
yeah,
season. And Jax was always there to be the big bad and take
yeah.
away from Sandoval. And now I just
Hmm.
feel like we're looking back on so much past behavior and
Yeah.
it's really reading differently.
Oh, definitely. Well, and even like, yeah, like, Tom Schwartz was always cheating on Katie. Jax was always cheating on like whatever girlfriend he was at with the time. Like, like in comparison, Tom Sandoval did kind of like feel like the better person. Plus, I think that there were like times when he specifically did things, and this is like another thing that apparently like narcissists do is that they do things to make themselves look good because they love the like attention and validation that gets them, right? And like I think you had mentioned the whole like um him like paying for their relationship, but it's not their engagement, not the relationship. But him
Yeah,
paying for the engagement that like
of
James threw for
Raquel.
Raquel,
Yeah,
like weird. Um
so weird, so weird.
yeah, and even just like in the most recent, oh, this is a different tangent, but like in the most recent episode of Vanderpump Rules when they're like uh at Sheena's bridal shower at Lisa Vanderpump's house, Villa Rosa, and they are like gonna sing "Good as Gold" to Sheena as she like arrives.
Oh my
And so
God, I
like
hated that scene so much. It was so cringe.
it was so cringe. And it's also just like, is this still a thing? Like, are we still referencing "Good as Gold"?
I mean, I think Sheena will reference good as gold until the day she dies.
I think you're right, actually, because she even mentioned that on the podcast that she had put out this week. But so like he's kind of like at the center of the group, like he's like kind of like middle row, center of the group, kind of like starting off like the whole like "Good as Gold" singing, and then he like as that like they like start to walk towards Sheena, he like breaks off from the pack and like goes to like the front, and then he like poses so that he's like, "Hey, look at
He's
it,
like,
this is so
me.
cool." Yeah, exactly. Like, this is your bridal shower, but this is my performance opportunity. So he's just always
I'm in a
doing these
band.
things. Yeah. I'm a real artist. I'm a rock star. I have the sequin pants to prove it. Yeah. So I don't know. Tom Sandoval. What can we say
It,
about him?
it is funny. Like I know Sheena mentioned too, like he's always been someone who's been the first one to do like really nice things and go above and beyond. And yeah, it's true. Like now, even those things, I think people are kind of rethinking the reasons that
Yeah.
he might have done that. Like it is pretty weird to pay for someone else's engagement. Apparently it was like 20 grand or like something, maybe it
Yeah.
was more.
It was, and
Um,
they were already talking about doing Shorts and Sandies at that point too. Like, I don't understand. Like, I get that you're like on Bravo and you have like all this money, but I don't know understand like how you don't have that much expendable income. Like, you still have like mortgages to pay and like stuff to do, but whatever.
yeah, I don't, oh gosh. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, his money things are also really questionable. Like I don't know enough about it, but part of me also kind of worries for Ariana because do you remember that scene like last season when Ariana was
yeah,
talking to Lisa and she was saying
yeah.
how Tom had taken out like a loan against his
The house.
house or something
Yeah,
for Schwartz and Sandy's, and Ariana's like, "Oh,
yeah,
but that's not affecting me." And Lisa
yeah.
was like, I think it might be like
I think
I
it might
hope she's
affect
not on the
you.
line for Schwartz and Sandy's now.
Yeah. Well, and even his whole thing with like being so mad at Greg for like being a perfectionist and like wanting to like do this really well. I'm like, aren't you the one that like left for like months to go tour and like are literally paying for like bandmates to like come practice with you and like Venmoing them and like, getting them lunch and like getting them Ubers. Like, you're spending all this money, but you're mad at Greg for like stalling the like opening of this bar. Like, I just feel like his financial decisions are not decisions that I would make. Not that they're
No.
decisions I could ever make, but they're definitely not decisions I would make.
And I love how when Ariana and Katie are making their sandwich shop, something
Yeah,
about her, like almost at every scene, they're like, so we're going to do the opposite of what Tom and Tom did. Like, we're going to learn from all of their mistakes and do not
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like, have a plan first and like not
yeah.
use your own capital.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually really good. Like, so that makes me think because in the most recent episode, when they get to Mexico and Katie and Ariana are on the phone with Lisa Vanderpump, and Lisa's like telling them, like, you guys got the store, and like everybody is there to like, okay, Tom Schwartz and Christina Kelly are there and like celebrate with them in that moment. And I'm just like, wait a minute, where is like Tom Sandoval? Like, has he already like left? Like, he's like
That's so
already like
true.
gone off to like find Raquel or something and like doesn't want to hang out and pay attention to his girlfriend, like heaven forbid, for like 2 seconds. Um, and like it's just like in that moment, I'm just like the absence was felt of this like person that like should be like the significant other, especially considering like Tom Schwartz and like Katie have like a pretty rocky relationship and they're in the process of getting divorced, and he's still the one like breaking out the tequila so that they can like have a shot in the lobby bar and like celebrate and like yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. It also makes me think about when Ariana was starting her cocktail book and Tom was like, well, I want to be in it too.
Yeah,
Like
I
he
know. And
couldn't let her have this like one thing,
yeah,
and now he's in the book. And
and I was
people
in the
on
book
TikTok are
forever.
painting over him and like turning him
Yeah.
into like grass or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, they're doing great job. They're doing the Lord's work.
We should
Anyways.
definitely rewatch now through the lens of
Yeah, I know. Is that
watching Tom.
that episode in particular, I feel like is like really interesting. I feel like I've seen clips of it on Instagram recently, and just kind of like the way that Ariana like stands up for herself against Tom, and is like, "You're not gonna be the one to like be all pouty and like be a baby about this right now." Like, I have been working in the restaurant industry for like 12 years. I've worked at some of the top bars like in LA, and like this is why I am doing this and this is why I'm doing this for myself. And he still managed to like weasel his way in because he like wants the like how could the attention be on Ariana when the attention should always be on me? Like,
And yeah, and she like always let him have his space with the restaurants, you know, like
mhm,
she this just
yeah,
there's too much unfairness.
I know. Well, and it's also so sad, and I feel like we're jumping around so much, but like there's just so much to talk about. But like it's so sad to like look at in the most recent episode in Mexico when she's like, finally we're gonna have like quality time like
Yeah.
together. Like this is it. This is what like our relationship is all about. Like, yay, there's no bar, there's no band, there's no distractions. Like it's just time for like Tom and me to have like some time together and to know that like this is all the stuff that's like going on in the background. And
Yeah, he's like actively cheating on her during this trip, apparently.
yeah,
Yeah, it's unfathomable. And I really do think that circle all the way back.
yeah,
That is also why he's like a textbook narcissist, because I truly feel like he thought he was not going to get caught. I think that he thinks
yeah,
he's better than everyone. I think that he's so stealth, or like he thinks
mhm,
he's so stealth, so much so to hook up with Raquel
yeah,
in the car in
yeah,
front of like Tom and Ariana's house while Ariana's mourning her dog. Like
yeah,
that is the least empathetic thing I can ever think of anyone doing.
yeah.
If this is true, which I feel like it sounds pretty confirmed.
It's been confirmed by Reality Bites, the podcast, and they have like pretty good like inside sources, so I feel like I trust them. But
Like who would do that type of thing? Like that's just insane.
I know. And that's just it too, like with him, his kind of like justification of like our relationship wasn't in a good place. It's like, was your relationship actually not in a good place, or was your like level of attention that you were getting from Ariana like not great at the moment when she was like mourning her dog? So like that was your justification for like, well, I can go cheat on my girlfriend because she's not paying attention to me right now. Like,
There's just
yeah, it does make you wonder, like, what does it look like in the future if, like, after all these things, like, I'm convincing myself right now that, like, he shouldn't come back next season, right? Like, how could you possibly want to film with this person? And like, do we need him to be on the show in order for this show to continue? Like, maybe Bravo will say yes, and Bravo will be like, no, this is the storyline, and everybody just needs to get in line, and
well,
you know.
I mean, I wonder if Bravo kind of capitalizes on the kind of like female empowerment that's happening right now and just kind of refocus it to be on Ariana, Katie, and
Mm,
Lala
yeah.
in like their singledom.
Yeah. Well, because that's just it. Like, I feel like it's like so interesting that like we are witnessing, like we thought it was interesting that we were witnessing that this season in season 10 with like Lala being single and Katie being single and Raquel being single. And now it's like, well, the dynamics are really changing. And actually now Ariana is single and like Raquel might be in a relationship. Like there's so much in store that could happen in season 11. And honestly, like a lot of it's happening right now. So like I kind of hope that they get like picked up like pretty soon and figure out what that's gonna look like because with or without Tom and Raquel, like I think that they need to have a season 11. Like
Oh,
without a doubt.
100%. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't, I think Raquel's more the one in jeopardy of not coming back. Like, I only
Mm.
see Raquel coming back if she's still dating Tom.
Mm.
And I can
Interesting.
honestly see her staying in that relationship simply to do that. Like after seeing some of the things that she's been willing to do
Yeah.
for, you know, I don't know if it's camera time or for her like need to be loved or, you know, that's a lot to unpack there too. But I like I could see her trying to stick it out with him. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's the only way that I could see it happening, maybe, is because then there's like an us versus them dynamics of maybe there's like those two versus the rest of the group. But if it's
Yeah.
just one versus the rest
Hmm.
of the group, like I think that's when it doesn't work. Like you can't ever have one person against literally everyone.
Yeah.
Even at the beginning when it was like everyone against Sheena, some of them were still like, oh, we kind of like Sheena. Like I think Katie and
Kristen ended up
Kristen at
coming
some
around.
point yeah, like
Yeah.
started to come around to her. Like Stassi goes back and forth. Even when there was Jax, like Tom and Tom always still had his back. Like there was always like a little bit of a
Yeah.
group fractioning.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think you're right. And like maybe they come back for season 11, so we do kind of have like Tom and Raquel as like one group. Maybe Joe will be in there if we're unfortunate enough to have to witness that. And then there'll be like the other group with like Lala and Sheena and Ariana and Katie, and we kind of like see how that plays out. And then maybe they don't come back for season 12. Like maybe if they continue to kind of like just like be in a relationship and there's not enough like give in the relationships that like everybody's like willing to get together, because at the end of the day it's an ensemble cast, like you still need a little bit of uniformity. But I don't know, maybe that's the solution, is to like see how this plays out and then decide from there if they need to come back for season 12.
Yeah, but it when you said that, just made me think of Summer House, where it's like the whole house against like Carl and Lindsay. And like
Yeah.
that's not fun to watch. Like we're not having
No.
fun
Oh,
watching a bunch of
so
people
bad.
hate each other. So it's like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it to go that route, because
Yeah.
that just takes all of the enjoyment out of this. And what we were
Yeah.
saying too at the beginning was so funny. I think if you go back to our first impressions of like the first episode, we're like, this is what the show's about. It's a group of people who all actually like each other and they actually care about each other.
Yeah.
So,
Whoops.
I mean, most of
Yeah.
them do. They're just
Yeah.
like pushing out one person. I am
Yeah.
super excited to see how Schwartz reacts at the reunion. I
I
really hope he
know.
actually takes a stand against Tom for the first time ever.
I don't think you should catch your breath on that one. I unfortunately don't know if I see that happening.
You know what he
Um,
makes me think of?
yeah.
In Hamilton, if you stand for nothing, Bull, what will you fall
We fall
for?
for it. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, he is very much an Aaron Burr of the cast. Yeah, and that's just it. I think that too, like, Katie, Ariana, Lala, and Sheena, like if they want this show to continue, they're gonna have to bring the storylines next season to be able to like show that they can carry the show and that they don't need Tom Sandoval there, because otherwise the the network is always going to go wherever the storyline is, and like that's always going to be the most important thing for them, is that they like be able to get like viewers and they be able to like bring in like advertisers at the end of the day, like.
True.
Yeah.
And filming would also pick up after like a while, right? Like I guess it'll be like almost I don't know how long they like when they would start filming again, but it's like
Yeah,
I feel like you want to know what happens now. I mean, like give it a few
that's just
months and
it.
then go in and see what happened, but like
Yeah.
it's gonna be really off-putting if it's just like, okay, 1 year later and then
Yeah,
you know.
that's just it. They have to capitalize on what's happening right now, and so they'd have to get like their crew up and running like pretty soon, I think, to really be able to do that, because like time is of the essence for this storyline, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen, and I think that people are still heated enough that like they probably could pick up filming pretty soon and be able to like continue the story. Because they don't necessarily have to wait that long, right? Like Salt Lake City picked up really fast after the reunion last year. And like honestly, I think that we thought that that was like a little bit of a mistake, but I think that like Vanderpump Rules, the cast is like interesting enough and like capable enough of like creating a storyline that they don't wouldn't have the same issues that like
Yeah,
Salt Lake City had.
no, for sure. Oh, that just made me think of something and now I forgot it.
Oh no, I'm
Oh
so
well.
sorry.
No,
Oh,
it's
I hate that. I
okay.
hate when that happens.
Oh
But
yeah, I was gonna say
yeah,
this has been going on for so long. Like I feel like
yeah,
we're almost at a month already, and it's like this story is still going, and we're still so captivated by it.
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think I could remember a Bravo story that's stayed in the public eye, like front and
Mhm.
center for this long.
Yeah,
Usually it's very much like news of the day, and then we all kind of forget about it.
yeah.
And I feel like because the shows are airing now and we get to almost experience the show as we would have been seeing it and then seeing it in a new way, and then all the
Mhm.
cast members like responding to it in real
Yeah.
time, this thing's going to keep going the entire season.
Oh, totally. Well, and that's just it. Like things come out every single day. Like we keep on thinking that it's gonna end, and then it's like, oh no, like Raquel was sleeping over at Tom and Ariana's house yesterday, and like, like it's just it hasn't quit yet. Like even Sheena, like the whole restraining order thing, like that only happened like 4 days ago, like max. Like it's all like it's still just going on, and new things just keep on coming out. So like yeah, there's just
Can't make this stuff up.
you can't make this stuff up. You can't pay Bravo to come up with something this interesting.
Really
So
makes all those fake storylines look real stupid now, doesn't it?
it really does.
Not a
It's
VPR,
not, no,
Colin.
not VPR. I feel like they're like one of the few ones that hasn't had to come up with fake storylines.
But then when
Um,
they do, they're so boring. So it's like,
can you think of a Vanderpump Rules fake storyline?
no, that's what I mean. But I mean, like when
Yeah.
other shows try
Oh,
to
in
do a fake
general.
storyline, I feel like they
Oh
end up being
yeah,
like really boring. And you're
yeah.
just like, take notes, kids. Or ladies, older ladies.
Older ladies. Yeah, so those are our thoughts about Vanderpump Rules. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments if you think that people are going to be able to come back next season, and if so, who you think that might be. And be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.